Hello and welcome to Dead with My Friends podcast. I am your co-host Steve,
And I am your co-host, Nick.
and this is episode 28 where we will be talking about the Christmas slasher, Don't Open Till Christmas. Nick,
Steven.
it's been a month, my brother.
Doesn't feel like it.
Dude, I can't believe it's December already. At the time of this recording, it is the 3rd of December, and it's been pretty crazy for us. For those that have watched for those that have watched the Thanksgiving episode, you could actively see me giving Nick COVID as I am coming down with it.
Yeah, we didn't know at the time. It was super unfortunate, but like if you watch the Thanksgiving episode, our last episode, you can see Steven's descent and progression as the episode continues of him just like getting sick and getting COVID. And I mean, I'm sorry that you had gotten it. I ended up getting it. I'm
sorry that I gave it to you, man.
Dude, you didn't know, man. I mean, you didn't. It's not like you fucking came to my house and you were like,
dude,
I'm just going to give this fucker COVID, dude. Like, you got really sick, dude. You know, and I felt bad because like usually like we'll chill all weekend and like you'll kick it for a couple hours on a Sunday, bro, but boom, as soon as you fucking woke up, bro, you were out the door, man.
I was like, I'm sick. And like, so just to recap November, I had gotten sick on Halloween night with a really bad cold, right? And you could hear in the past episodes of me, like my voice sounding fucked up and just like losing it and being hoarse. And I was like that all month long for November before even getting COVID, which is funny because I was watching one of the most recent episodes of Hard Lore, and Colin said to Bo, like, dude, what the fuck is going around because I've been sick all month? And Bo was like, dude, me too. Like, this shit's been insane. And I'm like, yo, me three.
Too.
I've been fucking sick all fucking month, even before COVID. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I was losing my voice every day, a lingering cough, but it wasn't COVID. And then I ended up coming down with it that Sunday after I left your house. I had tested myself later, and then boom, fucking COVID. And I spent my whole Thanksgiving and that whole week in isolation, which was a major bummer because it was like my first time off in years where I had Thanksgiving off and a 4-day weekend. And granted, I got let out of quarantine for Survivor Series and got to watch that with a couple of friends of ours. But like, man, dude, that shit sucked. Like, the timing of it all was really shitty, and then I felt bad like I gave it to you, and I like, someone else in my house fucking caught it. Like, it was the Thanksgiving that almost wasn't. I'll say that. We managed to make the most of the holiday, but it was a fucking rough holiday. And I know you're just coming out of having COVID and still recovering, and I'm still slowly recovering, and like there's just so much sickness going around, dude. It's fucking insane.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, for me, dude, I think, it's important for me right now to just like lay low, do the things that I have to do.
Dude, exactly, because like,
I'm just
real quick,
I'm gonna just come out of it. My hiding, like after the holidays, man, because I want to enjoy Christmas and I want to enjoy New Year's and I don't want to be sick and.
Well, that's the thing, man, is like I had put this out there. There's so many good shows going on in the Hudson Valley for the month of December, and I have to miss them all because I just can't afford to bring COVID home for Christmas, where I already did for Thanksgiving. And like Christmas Eve is a big deal in my household because my mom tries to follow the traditional Italian way, and like Christmas Eve is always bigger than Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So we have usually
that.
a lot of family over, and she does this like big old fucking event, dude. So it's just like I had to make a hard but conscious decision to be like, okay, I have to sit these shows out. So I try not to bring it. But it's like I can't fucking escape it because Joe and I had just seen Godzilla -1 2 nights ago. And, he's sick with something. He tested negative for COVID, like before coming to the movies with me, because we had gotten our tickets like weeks in advance. So I was like, all right, dude, well, if you're negative, like, and we already bought the tickets, like, let's just go. And we're sitting in the theater, dude. So and like 4 other people are like, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Like, I just can't get away from it. So, like, after this weekend, dude, no one is gonna fucking see me really anywhere until after the holidays. Like, I had to be there for that limited screening of Godzilla minus one. And I'm so thankful I was there. But beyond that point, dude, I'm fucking being a ghost for a while. Cause like this shit's crazy out there right now.
Yeah, you gotta pick and choose your battles, as they would probably say when it comes to this shit, I think. But I think you're definitely making a good decision for not only yourself but the family as a whole.
Yeah, and plus, we've got to shoot next weekend, and I'm like, just hoping to, I'm just trying to stay healthy, drinking fucking Airborne, drinking my sleepy time immune booster tea, like whatever I can, man, taking some like fucking emergency chewables, like, and masking up more, dude, because it's fucking wild out there right now. This is like one of the worst 6 seasons I've seen since the Omicron came through in 2021 and ruined our trip to Buffalo.
Yes.
Like, shit's insane.
And then Every Time I Die broke up.
Yeah, exactly. We were supposed to be there for Tid the Season, and I'll never live that down. But everyone I know that went to that show brought COVID home for Christmas. So, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. But, man, moving on. So, going back to Godzilla minus one. Nick, this has been the Godzilla movie I've been waiting for many years. Dare I say, and I was talking to Jeremy about it too, Jeremy Moorhead, shout out Epic Film guys. And we were just saying, like, this is the perfect Godzilla movie.
Dude, I like to hear that.
It was a 10 out of 10.
Ooh, okay.
My favorite movie of 2023, without a doubt. Dude, it was such an emotional roller coaster. Like, I laughed, I teared up. One scene just left me like with my mouth just wide open, like.
And he looked badass too. Like, this is a good
the
Godzilla design.
The look, and that is my thing, man. I can't fuck with the U.S. Legendary Pictures release, with like the one with like Bryan Cranston 2014, then like Vera Farmiga and King of the Monsters 2019.
All the new ones that they did.
Fuck, bro, I can't fuck with that shit, man. One, I hate the fucking designs. Godzilla looks like a fucking stapler with a fucking tail, arms, and legs. I hate it.
What'd you think of Mecha Godzilla?
That shit is whack, bro. That design for Kong vs. Godzilla, fucking whack. Get the fuck out of here. Kiryu model all fucking day, or fucking Showa era Mecha Godzilla model. Let me tell you though, Godzilla minus one. Dude, you could have not had Godzilla in it and replaced it with some natural disaster.
And I would have been
like, this fucking movie is amazing. For the first time in a long time, like, I genuinely gave a fuck about the human story arc and the characters. And it was just so powerful and raw and captivating and just, damn, dude. Dude, you have no idea how happy I was seeing this in theaters. And going back to the Godzilla look, it looked like Godzilla Return 84 mixed with Godzilla 2000 with the dorsal fins, and like it was just all so fucking good, dude. It hit every mark. The only thing it was missing was, there wasn't another like kaiju fucking battle, but it took it back to Godzilla's destructive roots. He's just a force of nature leaving behind destruction and a fucking trail of fucking sorrow and fucking pain. That's the best way I could describe it, man. Like, this movie was fucking fantastic. So I'm sure, like, the limited screenings will be over with, but I hope those that like are Godzilla fans or had been like kind of on the fence, like, I hope, people made it out. It seems to be doing really good at the box office. Like, I've been checking the numbers, and yeah, man, like, this shit, when it comes out on physical media, I hope they give it some big limited edition box set or like nice steelbook, because I will be grabbing a copy.
Oh yeah, you'll find something fucking cool with it, I'm sure.
Oh man.
Well, I'm glad that you had a good time with it. I'm glad that it like lived up to your expectation. And Dude,
It
a 10 out of 10
exceeded
fucking a 10
a
out of
10 out
10
of 10.
a score, bro.
A perfect movie. I
Damn.
can't find a single flaw. I can't. Besides what? Okay, no kaiju fight. Okay, whatever. Like the first Godzilla didn't, it was just Godzilla, And this is a prequel, you know?
Okay.
So
I actually don't even really know too much about it. I knew that it was coming out, and I knew that it was just getting a lot of praise. So I'm gonna definitely check that out.
yeah, man. It exceeds the hype. It truly is one of the best films I've seen in a long time.
I actually just recently saw too. I think Legendary might be working on another Godzilla flick as well.
Yeah, they have a sequel to Kong vs. Godzilla. Just released some like still images, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, now that you have Godzilla -1, like you're totally like.
And let me just say, like, it without spoiling, I'd say like the future of Toho Godzilla films is looking bright, and I just hope that they give it to this director moving forward, because he truly did something amazing with this movie. And yeah, I couldn't be happier as a kaiju fan, as a fucking Godzilla fan. Like, my grandfather raised me on these movies. Like, all the trips to Suncoast Video to get them on VHS and shit, like English dubbed. And like, I had Godzilla The Return, well, the US release is 85. Like, I had that VHS tape growing up as a kid, and that was my first exposure to Godzilla. And then my grandfather showed me like the original US one with like Raymond Byrne, I think his name is. But yeah, man. The future's looking bright as far as Toho goes. Whatever fucking Legendary Pictures wants to do, whatever. I mean, I guess it has its fans. It's just not really for me. I'll stick with the Toho, because they're the tried and true, man. They're the OGs all these years, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for Godzilla films.
Good shit. No, same, man. And I hope that they start doing something cool with Kong as well, because I mean, Skull Island was okay.
The 70s remake that Rick Baker did the effects on, like, with fucking what's her, Jessica Lange.
Yeah.
Like that one's all right too.
Yeah, that was like my first one I had ever seen. I have that
well,
on VHS.
I remember
I brought it over to your place, right?
Yeah, I remember you had a copy on VHS and you brought it over and we watched it, and like that was my first time seeing it. And some good memories there for sure, but like if you ask me like Godzilla to Kong, like,
yeah, you're more of a Godzilla guy.
Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, get the fuck out of here, Kong.
Dude,
go on.
The fucking Peter Jackson one's great, dude. Like, I love that one, dude. I love that one. That's an adventure, dude.
Now,
I like that.
I don't.
And the video game was sick too, man. I remember
I did have the video game.
Yeah, dude.
I did have the video game.
I played the fuck out of that fucking video game, man.
And I like Adrian Brody as he's
Jack
like,
Black too,
But I don't like that movie. I do not like the Peter Jackson Kong. I'm just not with it. But besides the fact, enough about like me gushing over like and my opinions on like, Godzilla and Kong. But
one last thing before we start talking about the flick, man. We actually got some really good news. I had just seen recently that Eli Roth announced that Thanksgiving 2 is a go. They're taking a year off. They're gonna fucking be bringing that shit out in 2025. So that's going to be pretty fucking awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. I think that's pretty sick.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't be happier to hear that, because
John Carver returns.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. The Carver returns. And like, again, we had talked about on the Thanksgiving episode how bad our experience was. It was one of the worst theatrical experiences as far as crowds go. But, this was such a great slasher, a fun one, and hell yeah, that's great fucking news, because I'm here for it. So,
yeah, man.
Shout out to Eli Roth.
Yeah, he's a real one, dude. I'm happy to see him, getting back into the swing of things. Great news on that. we're looking forward to that. I'm super excited about that. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say, or if you want to just get into talking. Don't Open Till Christmas. You want to get into talking about it?
Let's get into talking
Cool,
about it,
man.
man.
Let's fucking do it, dude. So
All right.
Don't
So,
Open
yeah.
Till Christmas, 1984, right?
Yep.
Okay.
1984. I had originally found out about this movie through Mondo Macabro. I had
Great label.
I had the red DVD.
They don't do the red ones.
case.
They don't do the red
I
cases
know.
anymore.
Sucks, because that was like really cool. And yeah, just the cover really grabbed me, and I was on a bit of a Christmas slasher, like I had just seen at the time, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I wanted to see more Christmas slashers. So after I found out that Dick Randall, the producer of Pieces, was involved with this, as well as Edmund Purdom, who was the dean in Pieces, who was also in this, and as the credited director, I was like, I have to check this movie out.
Yeah, actor and director. He was the lead in this.
Well, because the original director like abandoned the project.
He was the original director that abandoned.
Who?
Edmund Purdom. Yeah.
Purdom. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't realize he was I thought he was like the replacement director, but that's cool to know. But yeah, so I had sought this movie out, picked up the DVD copy, the fucking case, which I'll take out of the slip. Got the original cover. Fucking glare.
That's the Vinegar Syndrome, right?
Yeah. So okay. So no, this is the original. You probably can't see because of the glare.
No,
right?
Not really. Yeah, you gotta glare.
Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, that looks a little bit better if you hold it that way. Yeah, you can kind of see it.
So
Yeah, hold it like
that's
that.
the original. That's the original cover
On the
that's
Mondo
the cover
that you had, right?
on the Mondo. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we've got the Vinegar Syndrome cover with the slip here. I
love that cover though.
The
That's a
nude
pretty sick
model,
cover.
yeah, with the straight razor, and then on the back, you've got our killer with the mask.
That is sick.
Right? How sick is that?
I didn't even know that it had that reverse on the slip cover like that.
Yes, sir.
I just bought that.
Did you get it with the slip?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Ah, fucker. Yeah, man.
I
Whatever.
don't know.
I'm happy you picked it up.
I might have. I don't know. I went on a fucking tear, dude, because like I haven't participated in any of the sales in like 2 years for like Severin or Vinegar Syndrome. So this year, bro, I went in hard, dude. I got a lot of the Vinegar Syndrome shit, and then a lot of the new shit, and then I got a lot of the new shit from Severin. But Don't Open Till Christmas was one on there. I don't know if mine is gonna have the slip though, so maybe.
I hope it does, man,
I hope it does too.
It is a sick slip.
That's a sick fucking reverse, dude. Like,
yeah,
that's like one of my favorite things about this movie is I really like the way that the killer looks, and I love that he uses the straight razor.
Same.
It's so creepy.
I love the translucent mask. I love the straight razor. And yeah, man, this was the first year going back to the sales that I didn't participate, but it's okay. There'll be other times.
Yeah. And we're going to go to the archive again soon as well. So like it'll all be good.
Yeah. So yeah, like, for having that Mondo Macabro DVD for all these years later, I'm happy that like Vinegar Syndrome released a beautiful Blu-ray of it. They cleaned it up real nice. And, now we have this brand new release. Well, not new. It came out last year, but still, it's just, I'm happy more eyes are getting to see it, because I feel like this is one that fell under the radar. And it's always the case where most of these Christmas slashers, it's always a killer Santa Claus.
Yes.
Whereas this,
it's
a killer killing people dressed as Santa.
And I really like that too. That was another big reason why I like this movie as well, because it wasn't the traditional Santa as the killer,
Yeah.
Like a Silent Night, Deadly Night. Well, he is. He is a Santa. He's dressed as Santa.
He's dressed as Santa.
But yeah, man, this definitely did fall under the radar. It was like so funny too, because like I was on a FaceTime with one of my buddies not long before we had hopped on, and he was like shooting the shit with me, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm fucking watching this Christmas slasher." He's like, "What's it called?" I'm like, "Don't Open Till Christmas." And he likes horror movies too. And he was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I told him about it. I'm like, "Yo, you got to see it, man." I'm like, "It's a good one. It's a good one, dude. It's not what you think it is."
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely one that kind of like flew under the radar, but it's going to get more eyes on it now with Vinegar Syndrome releasing it over this last year. And it deserves it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you still own your Mondo, or did you get rid of that?
No, I still own it.
Keep it,
It's
dude.
I'm not gonna pull it out because it's in my storage bin.
That Mondo release is definitely like a double worth keeping, in my opinion. Like, there's some like dupes that are worth keeping, but I don't have a copy, like I said. So this is on you right now to read the synopsis and the write up for.
I got you, brother. So I'm pulling it out of the slip, and let's read the write up. It's just days before Christmas in London, but not everyone is full of good cheer. As a maniac with a pathological hatred of Santa Claus stalks the streets, butchering any man that's unlucky enough to be wandering around dressed as old Saint Nick, not restricting themselves to any one method of murder. This twisted killer dishes out stabbings, gunshots, a castration, and even burns the face of one poor Santa on his own roasting chestnuts. As the bodies of slaughtered Father Christmases pile up, Chief Inspector Harris finds himself under increasing pressure to crack the case before the holiday is canceled for good.
Present from the people who brought you Friday the 13th. Now comes Don't Open Till Christmas.
A homicidal maniac is loose at Christmas. His target is Santa Claus. No one dressed as Santa Claus is safe. His death toys are a spear, a gun, an open razor, a dagger, or a garrote. Execution by any means. Don't open till Christmas. Don't Open Till Christmas with special guest star Carolyn Monroe. Don't Open Till Christmas.
So, Santa, did you bring me any presents?
Don't Open Till Christmas. If you do, you may not see in the new year.
Apparently, like, this took like 2 years to make, and what was his name? Edmund Purdom, who is actually the lead in the film. He plays Inspector Harris. His terms and conditions as far as coming on board to do this movie were that he could direct it, and obviously they granted him that, and it was a fucking mess.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a mess. I couldn't really dive too much in the extras because we had to hop on and record after my second watch and after taking notes. But like, for what it is, and we'll dive more into the deep dive and discussion. But for what it is, man, I mean, it's a fucking enjoyable fucking Christmas slasher that takes a totally different route. Like we said, the whole fucking Santa Claus killer, like, no, this is the opposite. We have someone killing Santa Clauses, and it's cool. Like I said, that connection to Pieces, as well as many of our listeners know, I fucking love Pieces. Like,
yeah, it's on your top 10.
Yeah, that fucking movie, fantastic. Again, shout outs to Eli Roth, because I wouldn't know about Pieces if it wasn't for him and the Amoeba records, like What's in My Basket. That's how I found out about Pieces. But, it's just like, for all of the mess that went on behind the scenes, it's still a great cohesive story.
I was literally just thinking that, it's fucked up. Same way, same brain, like all the time. Yeah, exactly. For like what it was, they still made it into a pretty good cohesive story, which is fucking great, man. It's not like a super in-depth, intricate plot. Like, it's a slasher plot. We have the killer on the loose and people are being picked off. Well, Santa Clauses are being picked off. But I gotta say, man, like, the kills are really good, man. There's a lot of really good, fun fucking kills in this.
So, our movie here starts with this couple in an alleyway. One of them, the guy, is dressed as Santa, and we see the POV of someone pursuing them as this couple gets into this guy's Volvo. And they start, having some fun with themselves in the Volvo. And the guy notices he's being watched. He's like, get out of here, pervert, like piss off, this, that, and the other. But the assailant comes back and the guy steps out of the Volvo and he gets stabbed by the killer, who then stabs this woman. And then we roll the credits where we've got, I believe it's Jingle Bells.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy.
Kind of like a very creepy old sound, like music box.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely a music box.
Jingle Bells and
a burning little Santa Claus figure that like melts, and when it's finished melting at the end of the credits, it reveals a knife.
Yeah. And that, might I say, dude, like some of those vintage like Christmas decorations like we're seeing in this opening title sequence, very creepy, man. Like there is something creepy about those retro Santa Claus like decorations and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but I love this opening title sequence. It really just kind of sets the mood. So yeah, after that, the Santa wax doll whatever melts and we got the knife reveal. We are then put into a scenario of a costume party.
Yeah, Christmas costume party.
Which I'm scratching my head every time I see it because it just seems so ludicrous. Like, costumes are for Halloween, but it's Christmas time and everyone's dressed up as if they were at a Halloween party.
Well, that was probably one of the rewrites. They're like, oh, well, how the fuck are we gonna mesh this shit? And so somebody's idea was a Christmas costume party. I mean, but stranger things have happened, so.
Yeah, so this is where we meet two of our leads, Kate and Cliff. They're a couple, and Kate's dad is getting suited up in the Santa Claus outfit to, I don't know, he's there to like give presents and do like a whole fucking showing. But we also see some suspicious character who's in a cloak with a shrunken face mask.
Yeah, and then Cliff like makes a comment about it in the beginning. He's like, "Oh, you should, watch out for the guy in the shrunken head mask." Like he's kind of being a little bit disruptive.
Yeah. And like, people are like kind of disturbed by him. So yeah, the dad goes out in his Santa getup and does his little fucking show and dance, but we see this spear going through the air ever so like slowly and impales the dad dressed as Santa from behind the head and through the mouth at the perfect time that he like blows one of those party blower things that extend. Yeah, and it's fucking great. And like his fucking dead body falls into the arms of his daughter Kate, and like there's just this big commotion, and then like Cliff like looks over and he sees like the cloaked figure with the shrunken head and he runs over to it, but fucking our killer has performed a substitution jutsu because it's just a dummy under there. How he did it that fast is beyond me, and that's why I say substitution jutsu, because our killer is like stealthy like a fucking ninja.
Yeah, no, seriously, he is, dude. I was kind of laughing a little bit too, because right before the dad comes out in the Santa costume, you can see the killer shuffling through the crowd.
Yeah, getting into position.
Yep. And I thought that was so fucking funny,
it's great,
man.
It's so good, man. And so this is the second murder going on, and it's going on the news now that there is some kind of Santa killer, and then we meet Inspector Harris and Sergeant
Powell. Sergeant Powell, yeah,
who are on the case, and they are talking a little bit about like the murder victim's daughter and her boyfriend. And Detective Harris is like, I wonder if this is a plot to like inherit some money. Let's go over there and question them. So they go over, ask their side of things, and Cliff is like, well, I gave you your first clue, and he talks about the
shrunken head mask.
Yeah. And Detective Harris is like, well, there was no prints, so we can't really just go off of that. So after Inspector Harris questions Kate and Cliff, we skip to later that evening where we see a Santa Claus roasting chestnuts on an open fire, and a little radio. Someone's listening to the radio about
Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
Exactly, man. Good old Nat King Cole. Fucking love him. Love him. That song's a classic. But you know, we also get a shot of like, you know, London in like, you know, the height of the Christmas season, and how this year feels a little extra cold due to, you know, over the radio, the person saying how like these Santa Claus murders are happening. So we see someone make their way towards the Santa who's roasting his chestnuts, and he fucking grabs the Santa Claus and sticks him face first onto like, it almost looks like a grill. And he's like fucking just grilling the dude's face. He pulls his face up a bit, and you just see his like face is all charcoaled and burned. And then the Santa he gets engulfed in flames, almost like the fucking Santa in the opening title.
What he also does too that I noticed is like he has like a garrote,
just like how we just saw the Carver do in Thanksgiving.
Dude, he even did the whole putting his back to
fucking,
him and doing that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had noticed that. Garrote, I think is what they call it. So then after the fucking Santa combusts in the fucking flames, that's our second Santa Claus down, and then it cuts to a morning shot.
No, technically our third, because think about the dude in the beginning with his woman in the Volvo. He was
okay. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, he was dressed like Santa.
Our third Santa is now dead.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to a morning shot, and there's this guy on a moped, and on the back of his moped, so he's making a delivery. There's a Christmas package that says "Don't open till Christmas." So this package ends up getting delivered, and then it's received at Inspector Harris's home. So I guess it's like his maid or whatever, you know, she like tells
like
him
his
that,
housemaid, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, another correlation that I had kind of noticed as well with this, and I know that I'm definitely reaching, is like this is like another Eli Roth connection was in Hostel 2 with the moped with the head being delivered after, right? You remember that?
Yep.
So I was just like, oh, cool. Two little Eli Roth connections. You never know.
I'm sure Eli Roth is a big fan of this movie. Oh, yeah. Being a fan of Pieces, I'm sure he was like, oh, well, it's got fucking Edmund Purdom and it's fucking produced by Dick Randall. So
that's
of course
great fucking point right there. That's a great point right there. But I noticed it. And like I said, might have been a little bit of a reach, but might not have been. So
yeah, man. So after the package is delivered, we then meet this guy from the Daily News called Giles, who fucking calls Sergeant Powell and is asking if he has any more clues that'll help him solve the murder. And, you know, Powell's is like, who's this? And he's like, oh, that's you that's writing these headlines, this, that, and the other. Kind of like slandering Inspector Harris a bit in some of these news lines. And it's weird because, like, Giles is like, what if I can help you solve the murder? Would you get a promotion? And immediately, like, Sergeant Powell's like, who the fuck is this guy? He's like, what's your name? And he writes it down. And you could tell he's going to, like, inquire about this dude. And, Giles just hangs up. And he ends up running into Kate and asks her about her father's murder and how she's coping with it. And she's like, yo, who the fuck are you, dude? And then we skip to later that night, where we have some like drunk Santa walking in an alleyway.
They're all in fucking alleyways here.
Every one of these fucking Santas are just chilling in an alleyway. Yeah, it's fucking great.
Stumbling and drunk and
and fucking, you know, we see the killer's feet and he runs up to the Santa with a fucking magnum, points it in his mouth and blows the back of his brains out, and you fucking see it all, and it is fantastic. You see the shattered skull, you see the brain matter, the fucking gun popping off in the Santa's mouth. It's like fucking cold as fuck, man. Like just holy shit, dude. Like that is just some like fucking grindhouse level kill right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like some shit you'd see in Maniac, man. I'm like, and we had mentioned like in the write-up, like Carolyn Monroe has an appearance, and like this movie feels very Maniac like, except in the streets of New York City, it's the streets of London.
Yeah.
But it still feels just as gritty. And we were
you end up getting like exterior shots of Piccadilly Circus there, and at this point in time, that was like very like peep show heavy, porno house heavy. You know, it was like 42nd Street in London. you know?
Yeah,
So it definitely
exactly,
has
dude.
that fucking 80s New York sleaze, but London sleaze.
I love it, man. And I
Oh, yeah, I
think
love that shit.
that's what like it really adds to the movie, because I feel again like we're watching a UK Christmas version of Maniac.
Yeah, it could be Maniac's cousin for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
His British cousin.
Mm-hmm.
So then after this, we cut to the next day and we see Cliff and Kate panhandling, and I guess Cliff fucking plays the flute, and for some extra money, they fucking panhandle.
Yeah,
Right?
it's kind of, dude. Cliff's the dork.
Yeah, I don't like him, bro.
I do not like him
he
at
is a
all,
dork,
man. I think his line deliveries suck. I think his character sucks. The fact that like he's got a panhandle with the flute.
And
like,
she's like there holding a fucking hat, and then this guy comes out of nowhere, and then he kind of starts like heckling them, and then you find out that this dude's like Cliff's friend, and he's a photographer, and he kind of like pulls Cliff aside and says some shit to him about how like some girl for the photo shoot backed out, and do you think like your girl would be down for it? And then Cliff says to him like, oh, is it like any kind of like, you know, nudie like type stuff? And he's like, no, it's not going to be like anything like that, but if she'd be interested, you know, like if you could get her to do it, you know, come to my studio and we'll fucking make it happen. So I guess like Cliff doesn't really tell her what's going on, but he's, you know, like they end up going and they meeting up, and then we see like there's like this woman who's being photographed nude by Cliff's friend. Cliff and Kate end up walking in, and Kate is like really appalled that Cliff would bring her to like a nude photo shoot. Plus, like, think about like all the shit that's like going on with her, like with the trauma of her father and everything like that. This dude's kind of an asshole, if you ask me.
yeah, dude, no, I'm agreeing with you. Like he's a total fucking asshole, and she even calls him an insensitive bastard because like Jerry pulls out this fucking Santa like outfit, and she just looks at Cliff and she's just like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, like he says something to her, you know, like he goes up to her, to Kate, and he, you know, kind of like breaks the news that like, hey, you know, like I kind of like brought us here because I'm doing, you know, my friend a favor and he needs somebody to step in, and, you know, like he's an insensitive prick, dude. Like how do you put your girlfriend in like that kind of fucking situation too? Especially like this is like a whole nude shoot going on, and then I guess like either one of them were gonna end up wearing the fucking the Santa costume. It was either gonna be Kate or it was gonna be the other model, and then Kate ends up like storming out, and then we end up getting some shoots going on of the some shots of the one woman, the one model wearing the Santa cloak and shit.
Yeah.
And then
And
Cliff stays back.
Because she's taking an interest to Cliff, and you know Jerry's like, oh, hang around and help me with the shoot, you know, this, that, and the other, and you know Cliff can't help but take his eyes off of this beautiful model who seems to take an interest to him. So they're stepping outside to get ready for these outside shots,
And she starts showing her naked body to him, and then there's like two fucking, what do they call them, bobbies over there? There's like two cops.
I would just say police officers, but yeah, two cops, police officers who are making their way over, and she's like, shit, I'm gonna get in trouble for public indecency, and so are you. And turns out like they're locked out of Jerry's apartment, so then they like split apart to not get arrested by the police, and the model ends up running into the killer, who's
in an alleyway.
He pops out, and we get a real good fucking shot of his mask, and
like the backside of that slip, to be exact.
Yes, actually, yes. And I will hold it up again. We literally get
that shot. Yep.
This shot right here.
So you get a great look at the killer's mask. You get a great look at his costume at that point.
Dude,
so this is a good scene.
So sick, because like I love the translucent masks, like an Alice, Sweet Alice. This is like a little different from that, but almost in a similar style. But it's great because like the killer he like has the straight razor, and he's like running it down her exposed body, and you could literally see like the goosebumps on her fucking skin in this Vinegar Syndrome scan, which I'm sure was pretty cold during the shoot as well. But it just adds to the effect. And he's just like, his eyes are just so wide, and just the way he's tracing her body with the razor. And he could have gotten her at that time, but he doesn't. He just like walks away. But I love right before he disappears into the alleyway, the way he holds his mask.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. And then he just pops into another alleyway and disappears.
Because if you think about it, it's like technically she's a Santa, but technically she's not a Santa. So he's like kind of like torn. He's like, well, she is Santa, and my whole fucking thing is I'm killing Santas, but you know what? Like, I'm gonna let this one go. You know, but like he can kind of like act through the mask in a weird way, like you know what I mean, like with his eyes, and that kind of comes in at a later time in the movie. Actually, like probably like the next scene, right?
Yeah. So pretty much like the cops find they find the woman, the model dressed as the Santa, and you know they're bringing her in, questioning her, and Cliff is off somewhere else. So the next day, Detective or Inspector Harris and Sergeant Powell go over to the model's place and ask her questions, and she was like, well, he was wearing a mask, so I didn't really see his face. But something about his eyes were smiling. And that was like the only major like description she can give of the killer.
Yeah, she's like, I'd be able to tell you who it was based off of his eyes, but only if he was smiling. And they're like, the fuck?
They're like, we can't really go off of that. So then they return to Kate and Cliff's apartment and ask Cliff, like Inspector Harris is like, where were you last night? And Kate tries to vouch, and he was like, well, he was with me. And he's like, yes, I know, but up until the point where you went into your friend's apartment, but after that. And that's where it's revealed like he was hanging with the nude model.
And he's been present in 2 of the killings so far as well.
So yeah. So pretty much he makes that realization, and he's like, oh, you think like I'm a suspect, don't you? And you know, Inspector Harris is like, well, pretty much, yeah. But he's like, well, I haven't done anything. He's like, well, not yet, or something like that. He makes a sly comment. Yo, it's funny because he's shitting all over Cliff. Like, it's no secret that he's taken an interest to Kate, Inspector Harris here, and he's just burying Cliff. He's like, oh, so this is how you make your money, like panhandling?
Well, because
like,
Cliff sucks.
Yeah, dude, he sucks, bro. He fucking sucks, man. So after the questioning with Cliff and Kate about where Cliff was that night, and by the way, Cliff's hand is bandaged up, and Inspector Harris is like, what happened there? And you know, Cliff reveals like, you know, he punched out his friend Jerry for like what he did.
And you never see it happen though.
You don't see it happen, so you can't really like take his word for it, I guess, or at least Inspector Harris sure as hell doesn't.
No.
So we skip to like either later that day, and there's a peep show where Santa goes down into a peep show, and he's talking to this girl behind the glass, and she's giving him the rates. And just as she's about to, you know, start stripping, boom, this fucking knife plunges into the Santa's throat, and this fucking blood just splatters all over the window. And we see just a little bit of the killer's mask, and again, the eyes. And she's like, the peep show girl's like mesmerized by his eyes.
So then after the Santa's killed in the peep show, we cut to Sergeant Powell, his office, him in the office where him and Inspector Harris. But Giles is actually in there, and he's rummaging through like these files and stuff like that. And Sergeant Powell catches him. And he's like, what are you up to? So then Giles, man, like he's like a snaky fucking slimy type dude. And he's like, oh, you know, nothing. You know, I just wanted to smoke my cigarette and I was looking for a light. And, dude, he's just...
he's a real suspicious character. Giles tells Sergeant Powell to keep an extra eye on Inspector Harris. But Powell is a little suspicious of Giles because he's like, you know, I've called the Daily News and I've asked about your name, and they don't know anything about you. But then Giles pulls out the paper with an article printed with his name on it to kind of take the suspicion off of him.
Yeah, and give himself a little bit more credibility.
Yeah, but you can't help but be suspicious of Giles. Like, this dude is fucking out there, like you said, sneaky. But anyways, so Powell's like in following. Now he's going to start keeping tabs on Inspector Harris. And we also get a shot of a Santa Claus leaving a bar on a bike who's drunk. And he runs into some classic fucking street punks.
Yeah, and they start chasing him down.
Yeah, they start chasing him down. And he like evades them, but then gets chased down by a German Shepherd. This fucking Santa can't catch a break, but ends up in the London Dungeon, which I've always wanted to go to. I love those like medieval displays of like the torture chambers with like, you know, the wax figures of like the bodies being mutilated. And we've got this Santa, like he pushes past either some worker or some woman that just happens to be there.
And she drops her glasses and now she can't see, but like they weren't even like real glasses. They looked like sunglasses. They were like tinted lenses and shit. And she's like feeling around for him. And then the killer enters and he crushes the fucking glasses. Yeah. And then we have our Santa Claus who's like walking all through the London Dungeon and he's seeing like all these attractions of all these atrocities and shit like that.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And like, our killer has we hear the woman scream, which you already know, like the killer got to her, but then the killer jumps into a disguise of like one of the medieval like displays, and like he's like masked up and you just see like the eyes following the Santa. Now let me ask you this, did this
Scooby-Doo?
Well, not just Scooby-Doo. A little Scooby-Doo, especially with the woman dropping her glasses. I can't see without my glasses.
Yeah.
Well, Velma over here, but did this scene not kind of remind you of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park when they're in the haunted funhouse with like the display and they're like walking around?
Yeah.
You know, I kind of got that vibe from this a little bit.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's been a long time since I've seen Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, but yeah, from what I do remember, it's similar. I was, like I said, I got a Scooby-Doo vibes, you know, when you see the eyes.
Yeah, that too. That was actually really funny because especially with the woman dropping her glasses and can't see. But yeah, so the Santa's being stalked by the killer and we see this like battle axe thing thrown and stuck into the wall next to the Santa. Misses. And the Santa's like trying to take off through the displays and almost like gets his hand caught in a guillotine. And then a machete flies at the Santa and sticks next to him. Misses again. But then the killer eventually like pops up on him and stabs him with like some medieval knife in the gut a few times. But I just love that whole London dungeon like setting walkthrough.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was a really good scene. I thought like it was a really good way that they kind of like broke up how these Santas are being killed, because like we joked before about how like all these Santas were like fucking killed in alleyways, like stumbling around being drunk. Like this guy, like he leaves the bar, he hops on the bike, and then he kind of goes through a little bit of these fucking hoops and ends up in the dungeon trying to escape the dog. I thought that it could have been really cool though if they did like some funny shit on the bike with the killing, like something being fucking thrown through the spokes. Or like getting decapitated or something like right in front of those hoodlums or some shit. But I will say the London Dungeon is satisfying, so I am happy with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like I prefer like the fact that he walks through the London Dungeon is really sick. So from there we go to the next day and Inspector Harris decides he's gonna just visit the circus and there's like Santa Clauses giving out fucking presents to kids, and then it fast forwards to that night. And keep in mind, I think, you know, Inspector Harris is being followed by
Sergeant Powell. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm not sure because like the way that it's filmed, I don't know if these are happening simultaneously at different times, but at the same time. But we see before actually the Santa on the bike type deal, it's worth just going back to like quickly, that Sergeant Powell is is trailing Harris, and then he ends up losing him, and then we end up cutting to the bike thing and the whole London Dungeon shit, and then Inspector Harris like reemerges and he's like going into the circus. So I don't know how that weaved out. It doesn't really matter, but we end up at the circus, and I really like this scene, dude.
Okay. Yeah, so this next scene, like we've got some Santa Clauses, like, and it's nighttime now. The circus is like closed down, and one just gets done from hitting the bottle and using the bathroom, and we see a shot of the killer's foot, and out comes this retractable blade from the boot, and he fucking uses it and kicks the one Santa Claus in the dick, and then has this spiked leather glove, and he fucking punches the Santa in the throat. And it is fucking awesome, dude. What a fucking kill, man. That shit was like...
The other good part about this scene, too, is we have a double fucking Santa murder.
Yes, we do.
Because
let's talk about the other one.
Because one of his boys ends up fucking coming out. I don't know if he hears like what's going on, but the killer ends up smacking him in the fucking head with a bottle, and then he fucking stabs him in the fucking face, and he like cuts his eye out.
Yeah, he like gouges his eye out with the broken bottle, a little Fulci-esque.
Yeah, there you go. There's your
Fulci.
Yeah,
there's my Fulci. Yep.
But
some eye gore.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
Eye gore gets me. But they did it cool, and the effects like look good. But I love the fucking shoe because he like stomps his foot down, and the knife pops out, and then he fucking kicks him.
It's so fucking awesome. Plus the spiked leather glove, like. Dude, so badass.
So now, the peep show girl, her name's Sherry. She ends up being brought into the Scotland Yard to be interrogated by Sergeant Powell, and you know he's like asking her like did you see who the killer was? Were you able to see his face or anything like that? And I'm not sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't she also mention about the eyes again?
Yep, she said. I didn't get to see his face, even though it happened in front of me because he was wearing a mask. But she says, just like the nude model, his eyes seemed to smile. And if I saw him smile and saw his eyes, I'd be able to identify him.
So his eyes are like his fucking dead giveaway, you know, like under the mask, he just like, he must just be like getting so much thrill and excitement that it's like that kind of expression can just radiate through a fucking mask, you know? So, you know, she's not really that much help, obviously. And, you know, Sergeant Powell, you know, makes a phone call and he's like, hey, listen, like I need a police officer to bring her back to where she is because like she needs to be safe, whatnot. And then she ends up leaving without the police protection because she's like, I have to get where I need to go. You know, I'm kind of like in a rush. So she ends up going back to the peep show house. She goes back to her booth. I really think that this scene is fucking great too. So she ends up sitting down and then a man comes down the stairs and then sits down in front of her. And then they pick up the phone and they start to talk. And then we get this really cool scene of them having a conversation. And it's her and the killer. And he's speaking very low. And dude, the way that they shoot it is just like, it's very like scary and creepy because like he's speaking with her and then you know, she's kind of like, you know, getting all excited and then going through her rates again. Like for $5, I'll do this. $15, I'll do that. And then the camera pans up and then we see his eyes.
Dude, and the way they're lit.
Yeah, the way that they light it, it just looks so cool, man. And once we have the pan up and we see his eyes, it cuts to her and she is also seeing what we're seeing. And the eyes are the fucking dead giveaway. And she is like, oh my God, it's you. You're the killer. And then, dude, he lunges up and then lunges through the glass and tries to grab her. And then we have like this whole fucking shakedown chase scene that ends up happening. And she's running through the fucking streets of London, you know, trying to get away from him.
The killer ends up catching her. And he's got her like tied up in wherever he's staying at. And then we skip to another Santa.
Oh, hold on. I like what he says to her though.
Oh, okay.
Cause like she's like pleading with him after he abducts her, and she's like, no, I don't know what you look like. You know, there's nothing that I could really tell the police. And then like his low voice, he's like, no, you've seen my face. Now it's too late.
Yeah, I love that. He's
I'm
like,
going
there's
a little
no
Eli Rothy with that, with the Thanksgiving trailer, but yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that's a scary thing too, because like in a way, like she's kind of safe, you know, because like she says like, I didn't see your face, I couldn't say anything to police officers, please let me go. And then now it's too late. Like once you see the killer's face, like that's a fucking wrap.
Yeah, it's so good, man, because he's like, no, I don't want you to live. Here's my face.
Yeah, you only have a couple days.
you can't use that as a cop out now. And he's like, yeah, you've got a couple of days to think about, what you've done before I kill you. And then,
because I guess his killing spree is gonna end on Christmas. So
yeah. So right before that, we get another drunk Santa roaming around, fucking the alleyway, fucking with women through their windows, this, that, and the other. And then he ends up at some music venue. And
Piccadilly Theater, I think is what it was called. Not that it matters, but that's what it was called.
And, he's being stalked by the killer and realizes he's being chased. So that's when he runs into the Piccadilly Theater. And we just so happen to be getting a performance by none other than actress Carolyn Monroe of Maniac, Slaughter High, and a few other films. And she's just playing herself, giving a musical performance. And at one point, the soundstage guy says, all right, activate the trap door. And up from the trap door comes the fucking drunk Santa with a machete through his face. Very Friday the 13th part 2. Very
when he
what's that? Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Kevin Bacon
kill?
Doesn't he do that to Kevin Bacon in the first one?
He stabs him with an arrow.
Yeah, through the neck. This is the guy in the wheelchair
from part 2 who goes down the flight of stairs.
Yeah,
which they got from Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Yeah, Mario Bava.
Yep. When the dude opens the door with the sheep-like haircut and gets the fucking cleaver to the face or whatever, the machete to the face.
Oh, dude,
it's just like that.
I gotta do a Friday 13th marathon. It's been so long since I've actually watched them all, to be honest with you. I'll just watch Freddy vs. Jason because it's a comfort flick for me, and I might not be feeling so good all the time, But I just want to say it's worth noting that before this, Kate ends up calling Inspector Harris's house, and she speaks with his maid because she's looking for him, and the maid tells her that he is away, and she's like, no, I really need to know where he is so I can go meet up with him. I really need to talk to him. And the maid says well, Inspector Harris doesn't really like people to know this, but he's at Parkland's, and he goes once a month and pays, somebody a visit. So we don't really know what Parkland's is, but we later find out that Parkland's is a psychiatric facility. So Kate goes there because she's kind of starting to have her own suspicions about Inspector Harris. She doesn't trust him because she did some digging or something and said that she makes a comment to Sergeant Powell and says something along the lines of I looked into Inspector Harris and I can't find his name or something like that. So is it possible that he is going under a different name, that he's not who he says he is? So after hearing about the Parklands thing, she goes and she does her own investigating.
Yeah, man. It's and also too, there's this little plot line of Inspector Harris and Kate having their own little love interest. He's always he gives her his personal number. He's always you can come to me at any time, and he's trying to put the moves on her. And she's had enough of Cliff's shit because he's just being a total fuck up. So she's got her suspicions, and that happens more later to the point where we're talking. But before that, she's giving it back as far as the flirtation goes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And also, Inspector Harris is he's pretty in trouble with the higher ups on how this whole thing's been going. And he's he has a word with Sergeant Powell, how I'm going to put in my resignation and beat them to it because I know I'm going to be fired. But then gets up and storms off and kind of in an urgency where he knows something's up, and Powell is just what the fuck is
what
going
the
on?
Fuck? This kind of raises his suspicions
even more. Yeah. It's almost he's starting to believe that Harris is involved in all of this. Then after Kate's phone call, we then end up at a shopping mall, and we see this Mall Santa gets suited up, and he's doing his whole thing with the fucking kids on the lap and goes for a piss break. Well, out of the stall comes our killer, and we see the straight razor and the Santa taking a piss at the urinal, and zap, cuts his dick off.
His fucking dick off, man.
The blood squirting all over the urinal, man, and it is so fucking cringe, man. You're dude, it's such a great mean-spirited kill that I'm like, not only does this feel like Maniac, but New York Ripper with the straight razor.
Yeah. Yep.
I love it. I love it, man.
There's something about the straight razors, dude.
Dude, every time.
They're fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
they cut deep.
Yeah.
So then after this Santa kill, Kate ends up going to Inspector Harris's home because she's gonna, I guess, essentially like press him on this information, this newfound information that she kind of has that she picked up on him after visiting Parkland's. So she goes over to his place and he's kind of like making himself comfortable. He's like listening to music and she's like, oh, am I interrupting or anything like that? And he's like, no, like, come in, it's totally fine, whatever. So I don't know what the fuck transpires, but we ultimately cut and they're like at a fucking dinner and they're having like a really nice dinner at like a really nice restaurant. And like she starts to say how like Cliff is becoming obsessed with the case and everything like that. And she like says like, we have you and I have been together quite a bit and my name, but I don't really know what your name is. And he's like, oh, it's Ian Harris is my name. And so she's like pretty stuck on the fact that she feels like he's going under a different name. So Cliff comes into the restaurant and sees her and Harris having dinner. And he's ejected because he's not dressed properly, and like one of the ushers like throws him out of the fucking restaurant.
Yeah, keep in mind it's also Christmas Eve.
It is also Christmas Eve, yup.
Which means the time is, for the killer to, he said it's going to end on Christmas. So we're like, it's the night before, man. So like things are really starting to culminate between Kate getting all this information about Inspector Harris, Powell realizing that Cliff is not the guy. Because at one point he's got Cliff held and then he's like, you're not the guy. And so everything's building up to like
kind of like this point though, because like this scene is like when we find out who the killer actually is.
Yes,
in
because
Kate's apartment.
we go back to Kate's apartment after Christmas Eve dinner with Inspector Harris, and she gives a ring to Sergeant Powell, but he's not there. So one of his like other like sergeants takes a message for Sergeant Powell, who has been pursuing Inspector Harris and finds out though that Inspector Harris has been at his apartment. Also, I wanted to mention that the whole time that Sergeant Powell is pursuing Inspector Harris, he is dressed just like the killer from Pieces.
Yeah, you're right.
I love it.
He's
just
like wearing the trench coat and the hat, and like he's like super detect. Yeah.
So yeah, we're back at Kate's apartment, and she couldn't get through to Sergeant Powell, but Giles shows up, and he's like pressing her for what she knows.
He's just like randomly in her apartment and she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, I'm welcome everywhere.
Yeah. He's so weird. And it's just like, listen, it's no mystery that Giles is our killer. It's kind of very on the nose. The mystery is why. Why is he doing this? And what is his connection to Inspector Harris? And why is he targeting Inspector Harris as this red herring?
It's a good twist.
It's a great twist. So Kate starts to put together like, oh, like I know about you. I know that, I've been talking to the doctors there at the mental institution and how Inspector Harris goes there once a month to visit his brother, and it's revealed that Inspector Harris is Giles's older brother.
Yeah, and he changed his last name. His original last name was Harrison, but Giles says he changed his last name because he was ashamed of me, who was his younger brother. Even though like he goes and he visits him every month.
And he's like, yeah, he's this big police inspector and all of this and that. And
he comes and he comes and he tells me about all of his cases and stuff. So I figured I'd give him a real good case this year.
Yeah. And that's it, man. We get a lot of the motive here. And I think that's like, even though we know that Giles has been the killer the whole time, it's pretty obvious. Like, the killer looks just like Giles. But the real mystery, like I said, is the motive and the connection to Harris. And we get all of that revealed. And that's when Sergeant Powell calls back. Kate picks up the phone, but Giles stabs her. And Powell hears like the whole thing. So he rushes over. Giles makes a break for it. And then Powell gets like the notification or the call in that their suspect has been seen like fleeing on foot, and we think it's the guy.
This is
And
my favorite scene in the movie, if I'm going to be honest with you.
You want to talk about it then?
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about this scene. So Sergeant Powell ends up going to Kate's house. We see her dead body on the floor, and then he gets like some kind of alert that the man has been like seen and he's on foot. So he starts like chasing Giles down in like some kind of like parking lot or something with like all these cars and shit, and it's a little bit of a cat and mouse, but Giles has the upper hand because he's like watching him from throughout the shadows. So Sergeant Powell is like opening up all these car doors and he's like looking for him. And then we see Giles. He ends up putting 2 fucking jumper cables on one of these car doors. And he's watching from the distance. And then we see Sergeant Powell open up one of the doors. And then it just bursts into flames and he starts getting electrocuted. And that was a crazy scene. But that's my favorite scene in the whole flick, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, you don't really see like until like Giles sets the trap, you're like, you don't think Powell's gonna get it.
No. But you
like,
also didn't think Kate was gonna get it either.
That's true. That's true. And that's actually a pretty good swerve as well, because you think that Kate is gonna be this final girl. And so after Powell gets electrocuted to death by Giles's trap, Giles makes his way back to wherever he's living, where he's got Sherry all chained up. And he brings her dinner because it's now Christmas Day.
And he doesn't know that it's Christmas Day either. She tells him that it's Christmas Day. How she fucking knows, and she's keeping track of the time, whatever. So... But like he says to her like, oh, it's Christmas. He's like, your life is kind of like about to be over. Like my reign of fucking terror is done at this point. Yeah,
and he reveals like that he hates Christmas, and she like catches on to it, so she starts egging him on, talking about all of the wonderful things about Christmas, and it's really triggering Giles. And she like grabs like a 2x4 and knocks him over the head, right? And she tries to make a run for it, but she's locked in. And it's so funny because she legitimately asks him, where's the keys?
Yeah, just like stops and he like shows it, and she hits him again with the chains that he has, and she ends up getting out, and then we have another fucking chase scene. I like chase scenes.
Well, dude, does this chase scene not remind you a little bit of American Psycho in the high-rise apartment with all of the fucking...
100%, and I had written that down, and I love this so much.
That's crazy, because like we didn't talk about any of this beforehand.
No, we didn't talk about any of this, man. But yes, no, seriously, because it was just like the way that the staircase was. So I guess like wherever, he was like in some fucking basement of like some apartment complexes where he had her held hostage, and then once she frees herself, she starts running up all of these flights of stairs, and it is very similar to the staircase scene where Christian Bale, when the girl's running down the stairs, and then he's holding the chainsaw and he's like screaming, covered in fucking blood and all this, but it's like very similar to that. So as she's like running up the stairs, Giles is running behind her, and he's got the chains, and you hear him smacking the chains and everything like that. So he ends up cornering her at a point, and he starts swinging the fucking chains and shit at her. So one of the times when he goes to swat her with the chain, it gets wrapped around the banister, and then Sherry pulls it, and he's stuck onto it, and it pulls him over the banister, and he goes over from the top fucking staircase all the way to the fucking bottom and seemingly dies.
Yeah, he lands like right on the bottom banister,
and then
of the stairwell.
Yep,
and she makes her way down, and he pops up for one last scare before like dying.
Yeah,
and then we get this scene of Inspector Harris like almost waking up
from a nightmare.
From a nightmare, And we get this flashback of when Inspector Harris and Giles were children at some Christmas Eve party
where it all started for Giles and Harris.
Yeah, this is where the trauma about Christmas starts for Giles. And we see like the Santa Claus coming in, and I don't know if it's their father.
No, it definitely wasn't their father. From what I gathered from it was, Giles and Harris were young kids, and their family's having a Christmas party. Santa comes in and he gives them some gifts, whatnot, and then one of the gifts that Giles gets is a fucking Swiss Army knife,
and acting like a little fucking psycho, stabbing.
Yeah, he starts
like everyone
poking, and everybody's like laughing and thinking it's fucking hilarious.
I'd be like, yo, what's good with Giles? Like, we got to get him some help.
Yeah, your kid might be a little fucking disturbed. I mean, clearly he fucking is. So then ultimately what ends up happening is he goes up to his room. Once he opens the door, he sees like there's that Santa and some woman fucking around having sex. And his mom ends up coming in to bring him out to take him away. And then the fucking Santa must have been drunk or whatever. And then he like starts swatting at young Giles. And then he like pushes the mom out of the door. And then she falls down the stairs and she breaks her neck and she ends up dying. And then we get a shot of young Giles at the top of the stairs with the knife in his hand, looking at his dead mother's body. And then and then Inspector Harris ends up waking up from the nightmare. And then he sees that he looks at his time, or he looks at like something and then sees that it's Christmas Day. So he gets
Christmas
up.
morning. He gets up. And again, this is where we see all of that trauma and why Giles did what he did. And it's a cool flashback.
Yeah.
It really, like, I get the trauma, you get the trauma. And, Giles or Inspector Harris is having his morning tea. Again, it's Christmas morning.
Smoking his cig.
Sits in his chair and pulls the present from the tree that says, "Don't open till Christmas."
And you forget about it the whole entire fucking time after you see it for the first time.
Yep. And he sees on the little card, "From your loving brother." And he opens it up, and it's this music box with a spinning Santa, and it's the theme from the title card in the beginning. And he sets it down, and he's sitting there having his tea and cigarette, and it's a fucking bomb, and it explodes half of Inspector Harris's face, and end credits.
Good ending, man.
Yeah,
that's a really good ending.
Because you almost forget about the package.
I think that was like you totally forget about the package. I forgot about the package until the end of the movie, dude. And I think that's really good writing. That's like the Alfred Hitchcock thing where, it's like if you show a gun, like I think it's like something like what he says is like if you show a gun in a fucking movie, there has to be a point in time where that gun goes off or a bomb or whatever. But you don't know that it's a bomb, but it's like very similar because it's like, that package was strategically placed in the movie, and you forget about it until the end, and then it goes off ultimately, And I mean, it says the title of the fucking movie on it too,
Yeah, it's great. It's great, man.
Yeah, dude, like this is a really good Christmas slasher. This is definitely going to be in my rotation, every Christmas season for sure. I'm going to say though that I've seen this a bunch of times, dude. But I always forget that I've seen it. I don't know what the fuck it is. Because like we've talked about this before. I think last year we talked about covering it, but we ended up not, I think. And then like we talked about the plot, and I'm like, I fucking seen this before. I have a Mandela effect memory that Inspector Harris was the killer in this movie. So I forgot that Giles was the killer. And then as soon as I had seen Harris in this, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this fucking movie. I'm like, he's the killer. Harris is the killer. And then it swerved me with this time around because I hadn't seen it in a long time. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I like that.
You know what, man? I think I remember now because I brought over my Mondo Macabro copy of Don't Open Till Christmas the weekend we saw Black Christmas at the Alamo Drafthouse. So 2017, 2018.
So we were doing a double feature.
We were doing a double
Sick.
feature, and that's where you saw it, man. That's where you've seen it before.
Yeah, I liked it, dude. I thought it was a good flick, man. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's been like I've seen it a bunch of times. Like I've watched it since then. But it's just like it just like went in the back of my head. But now, we really sat with it. We really talked about it. It's gonna be in the forefront of my fucking brain now, and I'll definitely be watching this every holiday season for sure, man. It's a good slasher flick, man.
It's a great slasher. It's not so much of a whodunit, but
Right.
why?
Right.
Why'd you do it? What was the motive?
Yeah, because like in a lot of the whodunit flicks, man, like they throw us a lot of characters as far as like who it could be. And in this film, it's like they don't really throw you that many characters. You're just like you're suspicious about the right people to be suspicious about. Like you're suspicious about Inspector Harris. You're 100% suspicious about Giles. And you're maybe a little bit suspicious about Cliff, but not really,
Yeah.
So it's just like those main two guys, and ultimately like they do have a connection in it. But you know what I'm saying? Like they wrote it well. And I mean, for a movie that took 2 years to make, that they had to reshoot and they had to fucking put together, I think that they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, I agree, man. To mirror off like what you said, I think I'm kind of just ready to give my rating and why.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's hear it.
My rating for Don't Open Till Christmas is a 7.2 out of 10. And, this movie doesn't really have like strong leads. Like Kate and Cliff fucking suck, especially Cliff. But the writing and the swerve, and even though we know who the killer is, like we know it's Giles, but as to why he's doing what he's doing and how he's connected to Inspector Harris, that's where the good writing comes in. And again, the whole Don't Open Till Christmas fucking present and it coming back at the end, it's just full circle, man. Just for all the trouble this film has, the end result was still pretty fucking solid, and we got some great kills. And I had mentioned too, I wanted to talk about our favorite Santa kill, and I'm ready to give mine now that I've given my rating.
Hold on, I'll give my rating and then we'll talk about our favorite Santa kills, because I have my favorite kill, and then I have
a runner up too,
and then I have like 2 honorable mentions. Right?
Okay.
So, Don't Open Till Christmas, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I mean, I really enjoyed this fucking flick. I think it was like really cool for me to revisit it at this time and kind of be swerved by the twist and everything like that as well. Even though I had seen it a bunch of times before, I kind of just forgot about it, right? I thought that it had really good kills. I think like you said, man, as much as this was a troubled film, I think the end result and the execution of it was great. The way that they made it a cohesive film, as an end result, awesome, dude. The characters aren't very strong. The plot is just, it's kind of like, it's an empty plot, like there's really not much to it, but then again, it's like just a slasher. So you kind of get what you get with it. But for what it was good. It has some really good scenes. I really like the scene in the peep show when we hear Giles talking and we kind of like see the back and forth between like what we're seeing and then what Sherry's seeing. I think that was really cool writing. Yeah, man, just overall good flick, dude. I really fucking enjoyed it, man. I watched it 2 times today too. So, but yeah, so 6.5 out of 10, dude. I think I summed it up. So let's talk our favorite Santa kills. So what was your number one? I think overall there was 14 kills, I think, as like a tally in this flick.
Yeah, it's definitely a high body count. Before I give my Santa rating, just to go back on my 7.3 out of 10, I bumped it up a little bit before our initial conversation because the connections as we were talking between like Maniac and like the whole like 42nd Street and seeing that, but in London.
It was our
and,
Maniac over the pond, you know, on the opposite side of the pond, for sure,
and
man. And we love Maniac, dude, and New York
Oh.
Ripper.
And New York Ripper. I was just gonna say also like a bit of the New York Ripper vibes, and that. So my original rating before we had talked was a 6.8, but those aspects bumped it up to a 7.3.
All right, so I'm not the only one. I had a different rating, and then as we started talking about it more, I was like thinking in my mind about these things too. So my initial rating was a 5.5 out of 10, and then we started talking about it more, and then I'm like, actually, I'm like, this is going to be definitely a higher rating in my thing, and it was almost going to a 7, but I don't know, man.
Listen, dude, not
maybe
strong.
just
The lead sucked.
yeah,
The lead sucked.
yeah.
The
So
film definitely had its troubles, but
yeah,
overall, man, you know, the end result was solid.
yeah, 100%, dude.
I love that. I love the look of the killer. I love the translucent mask, the single blade razor. Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
man. Me as the Jalo fan, like I
Especially,
always
for you.
appreciate a straight razor.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so back to my favorite Santa kill. My number one favorite Santa kill is definitely the retractable blade coming out of the boot with the fucking
Fuck
spike
you.
glove.
That's mine too. I
Oh, it
knew.
is?
Yes, that's my favorite one too. I knew it.
It's so badass, dude.
Yeah, it's cool.
My runner up though, I'll give like one runner up, and that is the fucking bathroom stall fucking straight razor to the dick.
That's my
Is
other
my-
honorable mention as well. Is the penis being cut off, and then I also want to say that the Inspector Harris bomb at the end I think is really awesome. I really thought that was a great kill, and I also think that Sergeant Powell's kill is my favorite in the whole film too. I thought it was like super creative on Giles' part, and that's my favorite kill. But those are my 3 honorable mentions, and the circus double kill.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah. Usually the case for the most part.
It's usually the case, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone, that is Don't Open Till Christmas. We hope you're enjoying your holiday season and holiday slasher horror watch list. And I know like you, man, I throw in some other Christmas classics in there like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Classic.
Fucking the
Home
Home Alone
Alone.
1 and 2. Scrooged is another for me. All of the Rankin Bass claymation classics from the late 70s and early 80s. I'm a sucker for those. And yeah, we just hope everyone's getting down on their Christmas watch list. But we definitely wanted to talk about one that we both feel flew under the radar, but with the help of Vinegar Syndrome and this nice new release here, that it gets the attention that it deserves.
Yeah, it absolutely will, man. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome has a way of doing that, man. You know, a lot of people discover. I mean, I'm definitely one of them, dude. Like all of these, you know, fucking great films as well. You can't not mention Dial Code Santa either. Like that's another really good flick,
yes.
man. That's like Home
That's
Alone,
a great one.
but way more violent.
There would be no Home Alone if it wasn't for Dial Code Santa.
I was gonna say I would love to be able to ask John Hughes, like, hey man, did you watch this movie? But you know, unfortunately, John Hughes has since passed away. But maybe ask like Chris Columbus because he directed it. So I'd love to know that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're looking for another like sleeper Christmas horror, check out Dial Code Santa. That is one I'm sure we will cover in the future, if not maybe fucking next year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just want to also say that, like, you know, unfortunately, like, we're going to just do a little bit of a holiday hiatus. We're going to release one episode in December, and then we will have one episode in January, and then we're going to come back in February to our regular bi-weekly episodes. It's just... It's been
the holidays.
It's been super crazy for us lately. So it's important for us to just get, you know, at least one episode out for the next 2 months and then back to our regular scheduled programming come February. So
exactly. Because like, you know, we're both just coming off of, you know, recovering from COVID, and it's the holiday season, and the holidays are fucking chaos, man. They're busy. a lot of shit's going on. So we just
and as much as I love doing this, man, like I want to just be able to like kick it and watch movies and not have to worry about editing or things like that. So you know, it's definitely a necessary thing. And then I mean, like last year, I mean, it was our first year, dude, so we just like powered through both months. And then, you know, like even Thanksgiving, dude, like when we were doing Thanksgiving, you know, we had things that were going on and we like even talked about pushing that episode. And I was just like, nah, man, like let's just go and do it and get it out. And it's going to be great, man. We got to do it, dude. It's been 16 fucking years in the making. It would have sucked so bad if we pushed it off. Unfortunately, we both got COVID due to it, but I'm happy we fucking got the episode out. So
I know, despite everything that's went on in the month of November, getting that episode out just felt good. It felt important. And to at least have one holiday episode out this month, you know, while we kind of just take it back and get ourselves back on track.
Just to kind of like bounce off you for a second. I mean, I hope everybody's having a great holiday. I hope everybody has had, you know, a really good Thanksgiving. I hope everybody went out and saw it. And if you don't, go check it out. There's some cool movies actually. Well, one movie coming out, Ferrari movie about Enzo Ferrari. And you know me, man, a big race guy. So I absolutely want to see that. It's not horror, but go check that out too. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. But yeah, throw on your Christmas Story, your Rankin Bass, fucking Dial Code. Yeah. What the fuck else, dude? There's like one other one. What is it? The Night Before, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's a comedy. Yeah, that's like one of my. It's like one of my comfort flicks, bro. Like I love that shit, man. I love that movie a lot, dude.
There's a lot between like not only like Christmas horror, but other Christmas classics. There's a lot to watch this month. So hopefully everyone's enjoying watching
Christmas Story. I mean, that's just a given, dude. Did you end up seeing A Christmas Story 2?
Yeah, I actually really liked it.
I liked it as well, man. I thought that was a good follow-up, man.
I thought it was a very good follow-up with a very good feel. Yeah, we watched it as a family last year. Like it was like a big thing. We made it like a premiere.
It pulled on my heart, man. It really pulled on my heart, dude. It really made me feel some type of way. So I was like, damn, I'm like,
you could tell like
good, man.
It wasn't just a cash grab.
No, there was heart in it.
There was heart in it.
Yeah.
And that's what made that movie. And yeah, man, I don't have much to say either. Happy holidays, everyone. The best way you could support us is following us on Instagram at Dead With My Friends Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, like our videos, throw us some comments. Wherever you stream our podcast from, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, Podcast, you know, fucking, what are we, Anchor FM, all of that stuff.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We're streaming everywhere. We're on fucking YouTube. You know, you guys know the whole deal. So
yeah, if you want to just leave us a 5-star rating and review, that would be a great Christmas present to us.
Yes, it would.
That we'd appreciate. But yeah, again, with that being said, I am Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And we hope you have a happy holiday. We'll see you all in the new year.
Peace.